I can probably say that most of you have seen the ASPCA's commercial on TV, where they show the sad-looking dogs and cats in cages, and they ask you to donate money to their shelters. And it's true, they do need help because the animal shelters in the United States are becoming overrun with strays that they can't take care of. They're simply too full of animals, and they can't take in any more. But there is something you can do other than donating money to help out. If everyone who already has a pet would microchip their pets, then the overpopulation in the shelters wouldn't be such a problem. We'd have to spend less money trying to upkeep the shelters, less animals would have to be euthanized because of the overpopulation, and most importantly, more animals could be reunited with their families. Now, I volunteered in two different animal shelters for about 4 years total. And during that time, I came to notice that most of the animals that were in the shelters that I worked at were not mangy, skinny strays that were roaming the streets for all their lives, but they were actually pets that had gotten lost. They were somebody's pets that just got away from home and couldn't find their way back. Now, I have one story that I'd like to share with you that happened one time when my dad and I and my little brother were fishing. There was a stray dog that was running around the lake, and it ran up to us, and we decided that we would walk around and see if anybody recognized it or could tell us where it belonged. So we took this little dog and we walked her around, and nobody recognized her. Nobody could tell us who she was or where she came from. So we decided to call the local animal shelter and see if we could take her in so that they could take care of her. And when we called, the lady told us that their shelter was already full to the max of cats and dogs, and they couldn't take in any more. But the least that they could do for us was that we could bring the dog down and they could scan her for a microchip. And so we did, and unfortunately this dog didn't have a microchip. So the next best thing we decided that we could do for this dog was to take her home and look for the owner ourselves. Now, it's 2 months later now, and we still have this dog. We can't find her owner, but upon bringing her home, we learned that she is indeed somebody's dog, because she's house-trained, and she knows these cute little tricks, and when we took her to the vet, they said that she probably has separation anxiety and a little bit of doggy depression because of whatever happened with her getting separated from her family and being lost. And it saddens me that simply because her previous owners didn't know about microchipping, she had to be lost. And it hurt her emotionally to be lost and apart from her family that she apparently loved so much. But what saddens me even more than Claire's story is that she is not alone. That the ASPCA reported on their website that only 26% of the stray dogs that they bring in ever get returned to their family. And even worse than that, only 5% of all stray cats that are brought into the ASPCA ever get to go back to their homes. Now, that rounds out to per year, there are 8 million stray pets. Not puppy mills or breeders, but pets that belong to somebody. Out of 8 million of them, only about 700,000 ever get to go back home. Now, why is this your problem? Well, think of it as, what if it was your pet? What if your pet got lost and ended up at the shelter, and you couldn't find them and they couldn't find their way back to you, and your pet ended up getting euthanized because there simply wasn't enough space in the shelter, because this happens too often. And by too often, I mean 3 million times a year. 3 million pets are put down a year because they end up in the shelter and there's just not enough room to keep them or to find them new families or enough resources to take care of them. Now, what you can do to help prevent this from happening is every one of you who has a pet should go get your pet microchipped if you haven't already. It's very, very easy. All you need to do is call any vet, any pet store, any shelter, and they can tell you how to get your pet microchipped. You take them into the vet, and the vet simply gives them a shot in the back between their shoulder blades, right under the skin, which implants the microchip there. And then when you get your pet home, all you need to do is register your microchip that's in your pet with your name, your phone number, your address, your email, so that whenever your pet gets lost, any shelter or any vet that they're taken to or that finds them will just have to scan the microchip with what looks like a shopping scanner, and your information will pop up and your pet can be returned to you right away. Now, some people might say, I can't afford to have this procedure done on my dog or my cat because it's too expensive. Well, in all reality, according to Cesar Millan, no matter where you go, this procedure only costs between $20 and $50 to be done. And that's for the lifetime of your pet. It only needs to be done one time. Now, someone else might say, what if it hurts my dog? Or what if it irritates them once it's done? And that also is not a problem. The actual implantation of the microchip is just like any other vaccination your dog would get. They'll feel a slight pinch, and then that's the only thing they will feel for the rest of their life. They won't be able to feel this microchip. It's tiny, like a little grain of rice. Now, if every single one of you goes out and does this, that'll amount to hundreds of fewer animals being stuck in shelters, and fewer euthanasias, and the animal shelters will cost less to run because they'll have fewer animals to take care of. It'll help in all areas. And Cesar Millan had a saying that he said, this microchipping and spaying and neutering your pets will not end the stray problem in the United States, but if every one of you does it, it'll certainly put a big dent in the problem. Now, I've already done my part. I have both my cat and my dog microchipped, and I expect every single one of you to go out and do the same.